So this is going to be a response. I'm going to post it as a response to John. emblemOFbeing is the name of his channel, but it's also going to be a response to Loreno, whose channel is Iralon. Loreno and John have already exchanged a couple videos. Before I get into the topics that were thrown back and forth between John and Loreno, I wanted to try to answer John's question about the importance of this word discourse, the importance of language in Heidegger's philosophy. And I'm no expert on Heidegger. I haven't read this for 3 years. I've certainly been thinking about ideas inspired by Heidegger for all the time in between since I've read this, but I can't really say what Heidegger thinks. But what I've taken from Heidegger, what I've carried forward into my own thought, is that we are always already in language. That the human is always already in language. And Dasein, the here that is already there, that's the intentional structure of consciousness there. That there's an I, and then a perception or an object that the I is conscious of, that the I, a thought that the I is having. There isn't just I, there's I think. And I think Descartes should be really, and has to be respected for discovering the intentional structure of consciousness. Now maybe it took Brentano and Husserl and Heidegger and Merleau-Ponty even after that to fully draw out the implications of the intentionality of consciousness. But Descartes, and perhaps even St. Augustine, right, before Descartes, was starting to intuit the inwardness of the self and bring it into language so that others could follow in their footsteps to this sort of transcendental reduction. And it's still in the world, right? But the soul, the human soul, is still inextricably linked with the body and the world. And I think language is somehow what allows consciousness to be intentional. So Dasein is Dasein by virtue of the fact that it speaks, or he or she speaks. Dasein is a who, not an it, right? Unless we get lost in idle talk, then we become a mere thing, right? Or we fall into an inauthentic mode of being. So I guess that'll be my answer. Language, as far as I can understand, for Heidegger is, he says somewhere, I don't know the exact citation, but that language is the house of being. And he loved to quote Heidegger, who said that language is the flower of the mouth, really connecting it with earth itself, right, and with our very being here. That language is not outside of nature, some attempt to represent it, but rather an expression of nature itself, which somehow allows nature to become aware of itself as the human. That seems so. To sum up, Dasein is language. So let's go back to some of the things that John and Loreno were talking about. The autopoiesis. So this word is literally, it just means self-production and self-creation, and I think Loreno was just interpreting it that way. But it is, of course, a term coined by Humberto Maturana and Francisco Varela in the 60s, I think. to describe what they thought was the essential characteristics of life. Instead of just listing characteristics like that it can reproduce as metabolism, as genetic material, they came up with autopoiesis, and there's a technical definition. Basically, it's a system is autopoietic if it has a number of components which produce both themselves and each other, as well as a membrane which defines the system as a unity in space. Now, of course, this isn't to suggest that this unity which has defined itself, this autopoietic system, is somehow isolated from its material surroundings. No, it depends upon physiochemical laws continuing to function as they normally do. Entropy is sort of what a living autopoietic system feeds upon. It dissipates gradients. It's a dissipative structure, while it also is autopoietic. So all that is to say that it's a word which is used in biology to talk about nature, right? The physical processes which are going on. And Heidegger wasn't really concerned with any of that. And I think that's part of the limitation of Heidegger's thought, that he was only concerned with the human and not sort of willing to let science deal with that other thing called nature. And I don't think that philosophy can really do that. We need a cosmology as much as a fundamental ontology. So, hopefully that clears up the misunderstanding about this word autopoiesis. You could almost say that Varela and Maturana were trying to take Heidegger's understanding of the worldliness of the human being and apply it to all forms of life, to make having a world basic to life. That for a living organism there is meaning, there is movement toward an end, there is a telos of some kind, there's formal and final causation. And Maturana was more of a mechanist. He probably wouldn't go quite this far, but Varela definitely would think, and has written, that teleology is a constitutive factor whenever you're dealing with a living system, whether it's a single bacterium or a human.